Namaste, everyone. Good evening to everyone. At first, we pay homage to all the victims who have been who have sacrificed or by this massacre in Pahalgam, Verandah Club, and all the authors today who have joined, stand in solidarity with all the victims, and the nation stands in solidarity with all the victims. And my prayers that justice will be done. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this program. This program is about the book launch of a very iconic book, a deeply researched book by some great scholars who have spent a lot of time, about 3-4 years. I know they've been following this whole northeast. They are from the northeast region, and they have been following the Manipur conflict throughout. And no one can tell about Manipur better than them. Manoshi ji is a best-selling author, best-selling 2 books which have been the bestsellers of hers, Saffron Swords, and also on Mathura she has written the latest book which we had the good fortune to launch in the Western Ghats Lit Fest. Pranam Didi, welcome to this evening's book launch and online. And it is co-authored by Dr. Ankita Dutta and Vladimir Adityanath. Ankita Dutta is a scholar and a research person associated with leading universities, Indus universities and other universities. And Vladimir Adityanath is also a research scholar. Pranam to all of you. This book titled The Manipur Conundrum, History, Exodus and Conversion. It encompasses the root problem and also explores possible solutions, and people who understand the region can give the best of solutions. So they have done their best, and I congratulate them on behalf of for doing this seminal work and bringing out this book to all of us and throw light to the rest of the country to understand what is happening in Manipur. Any opening remarks you would like to give, Manoshi ji?
Yeah, Namaste, Jaganathan ji, Vignesh ji, Team Verandah Club, and all the viewers. Yeah, we all stand in solidarity with the Pahalgam victims. There is a history of massacres and genocides being happening in Bharat since the last 1300, 1400 years. Even in independent India, this is continuing. And there should be a solution to this. And Manipur, because it is located, it is a border state with sharing several kilometers with Burma. And over the last 2 years, there have been conflict and chaos there. And the truth has not been told yet, even through media. So myself, Ankita Dutta, Dr. Ankita Dutta and Vladimir Adityanath have collaborated to bring out the truth about Manipur, right from the historical part to the present times. And I would like to thank Team Verandah Club, Jaganathan ji, for organizing this book launch and discussion on our book, The Manipur Conundrum. And I would also like to, on behalf of my co-authors, I would like to express my gratitude to the publisher, Garuda Prakashan, for publishing this research work. And I'd like to ask Ankita ji and Vladimir Adityanath to add their views.
I think, first of all, Namaste, Jaganathan, and all the respected team members of Team Verandah Club and our audience. Of course, thank you for that humble introduction of our book, and also for having all the 3 of us together on the same platform today. This is the very first platform of Verandah Club that we are launching this book today.
We are honored, deeply honored.
Already made the yes. Thank you so much. Manushi ji has already beautifully made the opening remarks, but so all I would like to make the point that I would like to make about the book here is that this our book, the Manipur Conundrum, History, Exodus, Conversion. It is not just about Manipur. It covers each and every state of the Northeast in some detail that we also plan to expand further. The challenges, as Manushiji very rightly said, mentioned about the genocide, that Bharat has faced numerous such genocides in the long time. And in the context of Northeast India, the challenges faced by this region of the country, especially Manipur, the challenges are connected to historical dynamics, demographic shifts, and religious conversions and current conflicts. Our book looks into the historical and socio-political reasons behind the insurgency in the Northeast, of course, with a special focus on Manipur. The available academic literature on this subject, what we felt after consulting all the available sources of literature, is that they have failed to provide a holistic understanding, a sound understanding of the historical origins of the problem of insurgency, and its subsequent impacts upon the society in the Northeast. The Indian state also has more often than not failed to address this problem holistically for reasons that are perhaps best known to it whatsoever. And this is particularly true for a state like Manipur, where the state's abject failure was visible during the violence that began on the 3rd of May, as we all know, 2023. And the implications of this violence are going to be felt for a long time, not just in Manipur, but the entire Northeast. Because the violence poses it poses an unparalleled threat to the idea and foundations of a multicultural Manipur. But important questions such as how and why did the violence begin in the first place? Was it pre-planned? Who were the real perpetrators, or who are the real perpetrators of this violence, and who are the real victims? Why could the government not bring the situation effectively under control? These are the questions that we have
Yes.
tried to address in detail in this book.
Correct, Ji. So, can you elaborate on the Sanatana Dharma link, the Hindu background of Manipur, and how over a period of time things are changed, and what is the background of it? Can you elaborate? Because we are far away. We want to understand what is the root cause, how it what is the demographical shift, what has happened there, what is the background of it?
The historical part, Manushi has looked into it elaborately. Yes.
Yeah. I shall elaborate on the historical aspect. So Manipur finds mention in several historical texts, including the Mahabharata.
Okay.
Adi Parva of the Mahabharata has a detailed description about Manipur, and the Jaimini Aswamedha also has a detailed description about Manipur. Maharishi Jaimini has described Manipur as the second Vaikunt.
Oh.
The region was so full of, there was numerous temples, pilgrimage sites, and gardens and beautiful palaces, including jungles, and the people were very pious. And so that particular region was known as the second Vaikunt. And Adi Parva of the Mahabharata finds mention about King Prabhanjan from the pre-Mahabharata times. The exact dates are not mentioned, but several centuries beyond the Mahabharata period, if we consider the traditional timeline of the Mahabharata period, it dates back to around 5,100 to 200 years. So around 5,200 years ago, Maharishi Jaimini has described how Raja Prabhanjan, he was childless for a long time, and he meditated. He invoked Mahadev, And after several years of penance, Mahadev blessed him that from his time onwards, every generation there will be a child. So Maharaja Pravanjan, he had a child, then thereafter every generation they had a male child. And during the Mahabharata times, Raja Chitravahan, he had a daughter. Her name was Chitrangada. And the Jaya Samhita describes about Chitrangada as a Gandharva princess, which means Raja Chitravahan and his ancestors were all Gandharvas. That is again linked to the Sanatana identity. And the Adi Parva of the Mahabharata not only describes about Arjuna's connection with Manipur, but also the Aswamedha Parva of the Mahabharata, including Jaimini's Aswamedha, it is known as Jaiminia Aswamedha, and several more texts, including Puranas, describe about the Mahabharata connection with Manipur.
Very interesting.
So Raja Chitravahan, because Chitrangada was a lady, he anointed her as a Putrika. Putrika, in the sense, if Raja Chitravahan dies, then Chitrangada would be the ruler of Manipur. And after Chitrangada gets married, her first male son would be will continue as the king, the ruler of Manipur. So what happened, I'll cut it short because if I describe in detail again, it will take time. So due to time constraints. So the Adi Parva of the Mahabharata tells about Arjuna getting married to Chitrangada, and Raja Chitravahana, he told Arjuna about Chitrangada's anointment as a Putrika and how their son should be the king of Manipur. So Arjuna agreed. After some 2 years, Babru Bahana was born, and Arjuna came back, completing his exile. He came back to Hastinapur. And after the Mahabharata war ended, during the Aswamedha Yajna, he visited kingdoms all across Bharat. And the Aswamedha horse visited various states in the northeast, including Burma. Burma was then known as Rakkaspura.
Okay.
So the Aswamedha horse, before entering Manipur, entered Rakkaspura. There, the king of Rakkaspura had a fight with Arjuna. Arjuna won the battle, and thereafter his horse entered Manipur. So there is this. There is a lot of gossip, or there is a lot of narrative about Manipur being connected with Odisha, and some scholars, they also connect Manipur with Andhra Pradesh. That the Manipur mentioned in the Mahabharata is actually a small region in Odisha, which is presently at Kendrapara district, and it is a very, very small place. Only the name has its affinity with the ancient Manipur kingdom that is located in the northeast. So there are various other historical texts, including Alexandrian geographer Claudius Ptolemy, who flourished some 2000 years ago. Even he has described about Manipur being a part of the Kalay kingdom, which comprised parts of China, parts of Burma, including Manipur. And even the Mahabharata mentions Bharat having Burma as part of the Bharatvarsha territory. So Manipur and Rakkaspura, that is Burma, were neighbors as per various ancient records. So what the Mahabharata mentions about Manipur is the Manipur of the northeast. Even later historical records, including the Tungkhungia Buronji, this is a Ahom chronicle. This describes about Manipur. Even the then 18th century king Raja Jai Singh, he encountered the Burmese several times. He won several battles, and again he lost several battles too. And when he lost, he took refuge in Kachar district of Assam, and he offered his daughter's hand in marriage with the Ahom king Rajeshwar Sinha, and he introduced himself as a descendant of Kshatriya king Babrubahan. So that again attests the fact that Manipur is connected with the Mahabharata, and Manipur, the present Manipur, or Manipur described in the Mahabharata, is the present Manipur in the northeast, not Manipura of.
And is an integral part of, with this background, it is a complete integral part of the Sanatana philosophy of this great land, Bharat, and it is indisputable because it has been having connection with our Itihasa, Purana, and also geographical context. Everything is very clear. Yes. In that background, Didi, what has led to this conflict, and what is how it has brewed, and we hear so many theories of narco terrorism and foreign hand, Chinese influence. What exactly happened?
Yes. Rick, would you like to answer, or should I go ahead?
I think the narco-terrorism aspect, I think you can answer. If there is anything to add, I will just add.
No. Okay, sure. Yes, so when you are asking me about narco-terrorism, it needs to be understood in the backdrop of insurgency in the state. So insurgency in Manipur again has been discussed in the background of the state's state-sensitive geostrategic location along the borders of Myanmar, Assam, Nagaland, and Mizoram. This we have dealt with in the second section of the book, beginning from the Burmese invasions of the 18th century. So this section of the book dwells upon the violence committed by people from Burma at different periods of time in the history of the Northeast. And in this context, the focus is not just on Manipur, but as I mentioned in the very beginning, but also the other states of the Northeast, which have equally been the brutal victims of such violence numerous times in the past. Now, we all of us know in some measure about the brutality of the Islamic invasions and as well as the Portuguese invasions. But people outside of the Northeast, even within the Northeast, even till now, they hardly have any idea of the Burmese invasions that were perhaps much more horrific and brutal, to say the least. And the second section of the book, it begins with these invasions, especially in the context of Manipur and Assam, because Manipur and Assam bore the worst brunt of these invasions. And till the coming of the British and the signing of the Treaty of Yandabu and the end of the Burmese invasions in 1826. And then we go on to the post-independence era after covering the Burmese invasions. The post-independence era has been covered, especially with respect to the rise of the insurgency, the increasing socio-political clout of the church, the tacit support of the governments at the center, of the then governments at the center, illegal immigration, the role of Chinese communism or Maoism, to be precise, in the insurgency, and the problem of narco-terrorism. These have been discussed in detail in the second section of the book. And then major issues which are being debated in the present context with respect to the ongoing violence in Manipur, such as the SOO. What is the SOO? Suspension of Operations Agreement. Should it be revoked? Why should it be revoked? The SOO agreement with the Kuki militant groups in the backdrop of the Kuki insurgency. What is the actual meaning of a separate administration? Why are some people fighting for a separate administration? Is this separate administration akin to a separate Christian state? So these all these issues have been analyzed in detail. There is when I'm talking about narco-terrorism and insurgency, the angle of illegal immigration, which certainly cannot be overlooked. So we also have an entire chapter on illegal immigration in the book that clearly covers the point that illegal immigration into Bharat is not just happening from Bangladesh, but also from other countries. So much so that the situation has become sad. The population of immigrants has outnumbered many indigenous communities in Manipur today. There is an abnormal growth of their population, which has disturbed the pre-existing status quo and demographic balance in the state of Manipur among the native inhabitants. And migrants have been engaged, they have been grabbing lands, owning properties, competing for government jobs, supplying cheap labor. They are also controlling the markets and trade, especially in the border in towns like More. They are influencing administrative policies. They are dominating the electoral politics of Manipur, especially in the hill districts. They are destroying forests. They are causing destruction to the ecological harmony. And besides, they have led to the displacement of thousands and thousands of indigenous inhabitants and their villages. And this trend in Manipur has been continuing. So the current crisis, has given an opportunity to the people of Manipur and of course across the world to realize that we are living in dangerous times. We are living in a dangerous environment amidst not just one but many civilizational enemies. So our book offers an alternative perspective in this regard, challenging the simplified interpretations that we see with respect to many writings on the Manipur violence. I think Rick can take over. He can add.
See, and now what is the situation now? Are we the things appear settling down? Is it on the wane? Is it in the rising? This thing. What is the situation right now? Can we know that?
The situation, the best word which we can use for the situation is conundrum. It is a conundrum currently because yes, the actual violence is waning, but the root cause of these conflicts are rooted that you have certain policies which are rooted in colonial time, whose objective was to divide administrative experiments designed to divide native population, designed to destroy native culture, designed to facilitate conversion. Now, one of those policies is this so-called distinction of tribal, non-tribal, creating another fault line and among indigenous people of the state, of this region particularly.
So the seeds of these conflicts, what we are seeing now, has been the fault lines created by the what do you call the invaders of the colonial invaders?
Absolutely. The Hill Valley Divide was an idea of theirs. 1891. After conquering Manipur, the first thing they did was divide the administration into so-called hill and valley region. And ironically, this division is such that neither region can survive in isolation without the other.
Okay.
So these policies.
What was in the who are the inhabitants in the hill region? Who are the inhabitants in the valley region? And how is it playing out now?
Before we go into this, we have to understand one thing. The current geographical boundary of Manipur, which we see today, it is not fixed in stone. Like the 1470 to 1800s, the Manipur's geographical boundary used to include large portions of Burma and other parts. So boundaries were fluid. With that assumption in mind, what I would say is that one thing is absolutely clear without any doubt. The Manipuri royal family or the Ningthauja royal family, they were in utter control of Manipur for millennia.
I mean, the larger geographical area.
Yeah, long before any arrival of any Islamists or any British missionaries or anybody, millennia before that, they are in control of this region. And we have a pretty well documented genealogy. A history of Manipur by R.K. Jalajit Singh is one example which we have referred extensively in this book. So what we understand is that with this kind of royal lineage and everything, Manipur always had the capability of a centralized kingdom operating from Imphal and controlling areas greater than today's geographical boundary. And various Janajatis and Upajatis used to work and become subjects, sometimes peaceful, sometimes there were tax disputes, but that was the relation of how subjects and royal kingdoms go. You have good kings, you have bad kings, you have tax disputes, you have very good kings. So that was it, just like any other kingdom. So these colonial rooted things, unfortunately, there is no political will currently to do a policy change.
How was the division when you say valley, when you say hill region? What was the seeds of fault lines sought by the colonial invaders. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. The colonial invaders, when they won or conquered Manipur, the first they did was they hung all the rebels who obviously fought. I call them freedom fighters, the freedom fighters who fought.
Against the British
Yes,
invaders.
they hung them like Beat Tikendrajit. They hung the Thangal general, the brave freedom fighters, they hung them. And then the next thing which they did was that they brought an ICS, contemporary Indian civil services administrative officer, and then they claimed that the hill people, so-called hill people, are separate from the valley people, and they have to be treated as a separate entity and a separate administration. But the British people used to manage the administration through a group of agents called Lambus, who were called in local terms at that time. These people actually could not manage the administration very well, and often they had to take help from the Darbar of Imphal to keep situation under control properly, because the British administrative model even there was a failure. So
Vladimir ji, sorry to interrupt you. See, British, I understand the colonial invaders, the imperial civil service which they brought in had great emphasis for forest back then under their this thing, because they were interested in the natural resources and also our forest resources. So were they after the forest resources, so they took over the hill region separately and then they wanted to exploit our resources? What was it that they
the current evidence does not exclusively tell taking over forest resources, but it more talks about trying to create a fault line or a divide among the kingdom of Manipur, so that the kingdom of Manipur could not go against the Britishers again as a united entity again.
Okay.
That was the major.
So they were basically against giving freedom. So they divide and rule चला दिया उन्होंने, काम चला दिया.
बिल्कुल, एकदम.
Okay. So very interesting how the fault lines are playing out even after 75 years of, maybe scary. So what is the situation right now? You're saying the violence is coming down, but the situation is in a conundrum. But any resolutions that you see, Vladimir ji, what do you see? Any of you can answer this. What is the way forward? Do you see any, lot of effort has been taken by government as far as central government as far as we can see, but any light at the end of the tunnel that you see, so that there can be some reconciliation and peace and unity that you can see going forward?
Is it okay if I answer this, Ankita ji?
Yeah. Yes, please go ahead.
So please add anything if I miss. The resolutions when we are talking about, that has to come from, as we say, Sarkar and Samaj, both from government and society, both of the layers resolution has to be. The local people in Manipur also has to understand that what they are facing is not a mere local issue, it is a global ecosystem working against them. And it is time they have to understand the futility of ethnic politics and identity politics, and how particularly a section of their intelligentsia with vested interests and local politicians have subverted efforts. How a large portion of people with vested interests have in turn tried to keep their society isolated. This is a major issue which only the local people ultimately have to solve. For that, from outside, what we can do best is we can give them facts. We can make a dedicated effort has to be made, at least media effort, to reach people, to get these facts to them, because the access of these facts to an ordinary people, Manipuri people who is suffering from economic crisis, is still very low. So that is why this is a major issue. This ethnic and identity politics, not just here but everywhere. Politicians play, and other people with vested interests, sometimes insurgent groups, foreign powers back, trying to destabilize the region.
You think foreign powers, you think the USAID had a role in this?
Yes, they had a huge role in this. In fact, in 2020, there are evidences of covert and overt approaching of cookie groups to US. They were actually proposing to them that we will provide you your base for keeping India and China there. You provide us an independent cookie land. So there are actually evidences of these kind of approaches, and ironically, some of the people even tweeted these things in social media
My God.
by 2020. So that is how overt it is. So
Hmm.
US role, we can say it's definitely there. Chinese role, I wouldn't fully rule it out. Any destabilization here suits them. There are very famous Chinese weapon delivery rackets operating here. I would
How,
not rule
how does it come? It comes porous borders
through
outside.
Burma. There are typically 4 or 5. They call them the big four weapon delivery families there
Oh,
along the Shan state of this region. So that is one major thing. Also, there are lots of Western and Eastern private contractors or weapons dealers and groups whom we call mercenaries or opportunists, whatever you can tell. They also deliver weapons. So, for a sizable amount of money, it's pretty easy to get.
I
So
mean,
I would
in
not
this
rule
great
out these
land, these
two.
things happening is quite shocking. To learn that these things happening is very shocking. I think we have a good leader, great leader leading us. I think things will be cleaned up and peace will prevail.
Now to the rest of the people, this is the local thing. Now
And two of the ethnic groups, traditionally, I think Metis and Vishnupriyas are the two traditional ethnic groups of Manipur. Am I right? I stand to be corrected. Please correct me if I'm to be corrected. Can
and
you?
land
There
revenue law.
are, yeah, there are many tribes,
Okay.
and amongst the Nagas, there are many sub-Naga tribes. Amongst the Kukis also, there are many sub-Kuki tribes. And similarly, amongst the Manipuris, there are two tribes, the Meiteis and the Bishnupriya Manipuris.
Okay.
Meitei Manipuri and Bishnupriya Manipuri.
Okay. Okay. So they are also they belong to the hill or the valley. What is it? How?
Actually, most of the Meiteis, they stay in the valley area. Also, they also stay in the hill area.
Mhm.
And when we speak about the Bishnupriya Manipuris, they are very few in number. At the most, they are about 6 to 7 lakhs in number
Oh,
all across the world.
okay.
And during the 18th century, most of the Bishnupriya Manipuris, including the Meiteis, that is when the Burmese invasions happened, and most of the Manipuris, both the Meiteis and the Bishnupriya Manipuris, they migrated. They faced exodus. They settled in places around Manipur, including Bangladesh, and today's Bangladesh.
Mm.
And yes, there is the Bishnupriya Manipuris are facing an identity crisis, and even the Meiteis today are facing an identity crisis because, as we all know, during the last 2 years of
Immigrants.
immigrants problems, and most of the Meitei families, they are still not back to their homes. Their homes have been destroyed.
Very sad.
Yeah. So both the sects of the Manipuris are facing an identity crisis today.
Didi, now see across India we have this. In every state, every city has a resident deity, Deva Devata. So like that, what is a resident? I mean, like Calcutta is Kali, so or Dhaka is Dhakeshwari. When
Yeah.
Dhaka used to be part of Akhanda Bharat. So like that, what is who is the resident deity of Manipur?
Yeah, there Manipuris worship a pantheon of ancestral deities,
Mm-hmm.
starting from Sanamahi. There is a separate section of, in fact, Sanamahi is worshipped in every Manipuri home.
She is a Devi.
No, he is a Deva, he Kula Devata.
Kuladeva.
And
Okay.
there, yeah, Kula Devata. Pakhamba is also a Kula Devata. Apokpa is a Kula Devata.
Mhm.
Amongst the Meiteis, Apokpa, there are 3 types of Apokpas. The oldest ancestor, the clan ancestor, and the third the ancestor from 3 generations beyond. That is the Apokpa amongst the Meiteis. And among the Vishnupriyas, we have one Apokpa, and he was the founder of the Kumal dynasty. He was called Kumal Guru, and he was the 6th generation from Arjuna and Chitrangada.
Okay.
And the Vishnupriya Manipuris are all descendants of Kumal.
Okay.
And Apokpa is worshipped in the villages. He is worshipped in the granary. He holds a place in the granary. In the cities, some 3 or 4 ancestral families together.
Predominantly, rice is the staple.
Yes. And likewise, there are Panthoibi is a deity. She is considered an incarnation of Vishnu.
Mm-hmm.
And her husband was Atiya Guru. Panthoibi's husband was Atiya Guru. And Atiya Guru is considered an Ansh of Vishnu.
Okay.
So Vishnu and Lakshmi. And then our Kumal, he is considered an Ansh of Mahadev. And Pathaivi, his wife, is considered an Angsha of Devi Durga.
Truly amazing how our great land has. Yes.
So we worship, there are so many ancestral deities, not limited to just 3 or 4, and we worship them all. So there is, the book has details about why Sanamahi is worshipped in every home. And there are also details about the various clans. So there are 6, Atiya Guru had 6 children, 6 sons. Sanamahi was the eldest. And Kanthak Consil, that is Pakhamba, he was the youngest. And later on, Kanthak Consil's son, Kumal, he founded the Kumal dynasty, and he divided the ancestral Manipur into 5 principalities, and that's how his uncles, that is Angom, Mangang, Luang, Mojang, they all ruled in all of these 5 principalities.
Okay.
So there were 6 sons. Eldest was Sanamahi, then there's Atiya Guru, he married 5 women, and the 6 children were their sons. And after Atiya Guru, Pakhamba became the king, and his son Kumal, he divided the ancient Manipur into 5 principalities, and that's how there are various clans. And the Meitei, they were also called the Ningthozas, and Ningthozas were originally Mangangs, one of the sons of Atiya Guru, who is again a descendant of Arjuna and Chitrangada.
Amazing.
And there has been a lot of narrative, lot of gossip about the locals themselves, most of the Meiteis themselves telling that Hinduism was imposed on the Manipuris in the 18th century.
Oh my God.
Garib Nawaz, he was initiated into Hinduism by Shantadas Adhikari, a Vaishnavite saint from Bengal, and he converted all of the people of Manipur into Hindus. But that's not true, as I said, how in the Mahabharata, Raja Prabhanjan, he worshipped Shiva, and then due to Shiva's blessings, each generation had a child, and how even the ancestral deities, they are Ansh, the parts of Shiva and Vishnu, Lakshmi, and later on, in today's times, if a Hindu initiates himself to a ISKCON devotee, he follows all the ISKCON rituals, but he is already a Hindu, but he became a ISKCON devotee. So it's a ritualistic worshipping of, like every day, how the worshipping takes place. That's how ISKCON shows. Similarly, even the Manipuris, they were Hindus. And Santadas Adhikari, the Vaishnava saint, he showed how to do the ritualistic worship of the deities of Vishnu. That's the only difference. And even Pamhewas, that is, he is more popular as Garib Nawaz, his ancestor, Khagemba, he built a temple of Vishnu. And today it's still there in Manipur. It is known as this temple is known as the Khagemba Vishnu. So he ruled before Pamheva. So if Pamheva was forced to accept Hinduism and convert all the people of Manipur into Hindus, then how did his ancestor was already a Hindu, how did he build a temple of Vishnu? He built a temple of Vishnu in Yanban. It is still there. So likewise, there have been more examples of how the ancestors of Pamheva built temples in various places of Manipur. Yeah.
Truly phenomenal. The bhakti that runs through this great land, and it's a culture, the entire fabric which holds this great land is truly amazing. It's a fabric of Sanatan Dharma. And I congratulate all three of you to have done this great work. And I think it would have been a great deal of pain when you would have done this work, obviously, because seeing your region native being subjected to such crimes, I can imagine how painful it is to document it. One is seeing the crime is one horror, but documenting it is even more painful, I think. But the world should know.
Yeah, actually, because there is no available literature, even today, most of the people of Manipur, not only the Vishnupriya Manipuris, but also the Meiteis, they do not, a few of them know about the history, their roots, but many do not know the root, their cultural roots, the actual ancestral, the ancient history of Manipur. And regarding the current conflict, regarding all of the issues there, not much has been told at the national and international level. It is only the distorted part that has been disseminated all across. So it's a one-sided narrative. And that's the reason, that's how Dr. Ankita once, she told me about us collaborating for a book. And so she ideated this, and we all gave shape, all the three of us gave shape to the book, to bring out the truth about Manipur from the pre-Mahabharata times to the present conflict and the solutions ahead.
I urge everyone to buy this book, read it, and tell the message to your friends. Everybody deserves to know the truth, and the three of them have done really a great work in bringing out the truth. With a heavy heart, I congratulate you for this work, because I can understand the pain with which it would have been done. And Didi, you have been telling about this book when you came for the third edition of the Western Ghats Lit Fest, about how it was work in progress. So we look forward to having you all at the fourth edition. We'll be taking up the planning, so we look forward. And can we open questions from the audience, please?
It would be a pleasure.
Thank you. Any questions? All of you can feel free to ask our authors. They are more than willing to answer your questions. Vignesh, any questions? Vignesh, Ganesh, you also can ask questions.
Ma'am?
Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yes, Vignesh.
Right. Actually, this is a question for all the authors. Actually, how did you go about researching such a topic, which normally I understand that you have a connection with Manipur, but how did you exactly get into this topic? Could you please just shed some light on the research process and where you got the inspiration for this, please?
Yeah, as I have already said a few minutes back, that because whatever has been happening in Manipur, the truth has not been told, and it's only a distorted narrative that has been doing the rounds in media. at the national and international level. And because I knew Ankita for quite some time, and she was already doing some groundwork in the Northeast, and we used to discuss about Manipur. And then she used to tell about Vladimir Adityanath also, about how he was fully involved in finding out facts about what was happening. He was working at the ground level. So both Ankita and Vladimir were working at the ground level. And so that's how we ultimately decided to write a book. And that's how the Manipur Conundrum was given shape. But yes, the research thing is because I belong to all three of us belong to the East. Dr. Ankita Dutta is from Assam, even I am also from Assam. I am a Vishnupriya Manipuri, and I have read a lot, I have heard a lot about the ancient history of Manipur from my elders. And I have grown up worshipping Apokpa. Like every time we go to the village, we worship Apokpa at the granary. The first time, as soon as we enter our ancestral home, the first thing we were asked to do was to go towards the granary and offer our obeisance to Apokpa. And then I saw like most of us, actually we do not know much in detail about the ancient history of Manipur, and that's how I started reading books. And while writing the Manipur Conundrum, because there has to be many more details, because what is available in the mainstream, whether it is in bookstores or in the archives, not much details are available. So I had to connect with the traditional history writers at a local level, and those books were written in the local languages, vernacular languages, even in Vishnupriya Manipuri also. So I was helped by the locals there, and I could collect a lot of historical literature. And then after reading that, that's how I wrote the historical part. And then Ankita and Vladimir, they will add their part.
Yeah, actually, what Manoshi ji said about the narrative that has been parroted in the mainstream media since the beginning of violence, it has led to severe harm on the indigenous communities. So our focus in this book has been to bring out the truth in the public domain by deconstructing the lies, the propaganda that has been peddled in the mainstream media since the beginning of this violence. So we have tried to answer, we have raised several inconvenient historical truths, questions related to these truths, like who are the outsiders, who are foreigners or immigrants. So are their claims of indigeneity really credible? So these claims have been examined with respect to their cherished political project of an imaginary homeland. And based on my own visits to Manipur several times in the past, and Vladimir's inputs from the ground, because he has been working continuously in different states of the Northeast and making us aware in social media about the ground reality in the different states there. We have explained how certain sections, or how certain actions of the government of Manipur, they were posing obstacles to the realization of this separate homeland project of a certain section of the people, like actions of the government such as crackdown on land encroachment, crackdown on poppy cultivation, crackdown on illegal immigration. So we have also put forth recommendations in our book to the government of India that align with the principles of indigenous people's rights and the protection of indigenous communities, as stipulated by the UN, to include the Meiteis in the ST list of the Constitution of India. Although this is not the only solution, but yes, this is going to safeguard both the land and indigenous rights of the Meitei people. Also, it is at this point of time, it is important that, I mean, during this period of president's rule in Manipur, it is also extremely important for the Indian government to work out on flushing out all militants from the hills, because it is a complex landscape. Actually, Manipur is a complex socio-political landscape that requires comprehensive strategies on the part of the government to address historical grievances, to address the ongoing demographic changes. So we are really grateful to Garud Prakashan for agreeing to publish this book. And I sincerely, I extend my sincere and deep note of appreciation to all those people from Manipur and even in Guwahati, Assam, from Manipuri Basti, who prefer to remain anonymous and behind the scene. But these are the people who have genuinely and generously helped me by providing invaluable photographs, books, facts, and data to write this book. So we shall be humbled and happy as well if this book could serve as a reference material in future for any research work on the Northeast and the crisis that Manipur is facing today in particular. So we dedicate this book to all the victims of genocide in every corner of the world who have suffered limitlessly and who still continue to suffer silently. It is for those who have made the ultimate sacrifice of protecting their homeland, from our civilizational enemies. So we are hopeful that the book will serve the purpose of spreading awareness, of organizing people, and driving political decisions to defend the rights of the indigenous people of Manipur. May Devi bless them. May Dharma flourish. Jai Bhavani.
Jai Bhavani, Dharmo Rakshati Rakshitaha. Thank you, everyone. For
Regarding
yes.
regarding my inspiration, well, I knew the ground reality about the worsening situation in Manipur even before this crisis. So the moment the violence broke out, I had a fairly decent idea about what would happen. So in this case, my first approach was to try to find out the epicenter of violence and start talking with victims. And I would be extremely thankful to all the IDPs. Even that term feels bad. My fellow Bharatiyas who lost their home, who told me actually what had happened, what to do. My only, and then I started getting ground reports, getting information about actual happenings. And from my previous experience, I started tracing back. Kuki separatism, is it really an ethnic separatism? Where does this Kuki identity come from? Is it merely a colonial identity politics or something more sinister? Geopolitical ambitions and identity politics mixed together in a convenient alliance. So those matters, I started consulting with experts. I started going into this topic. I started digging as much as possible with the help of Manipuri people who helped me a lot in trying to get authentic records, data, trying to conduct some form of studies on essential parameters, like say some land prices, other things, which at first glance may appear unrelated, but are very critical. So yes, I would say I followed a pretty standard cut and dry template, which is often used in this case. And I would like to say, people say that Northeast is isolated, but if somebody is sincere in their field and somebody works with them, the only real people are very good. The only real barrier they will face may be a bit of mindset difference and other things. But I would say they will find people just to be like the rest of Bharat. So what my idea would be is that my part want to show the sufferings, what happens when we forget our ancient cultural and civilizational ties and start prioritizing ethnicity, language, and internal squabbles, how people take advantage of us. So this was my main purpose of it, and hope it serves as a lesson to all of us in future. Thank you.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you, Manoshi ji, Dr. Ankita ji, and Vladimir ji.
Thank you, for giving us this
Honoring
platform
us.
for
You have
launching.
all honored us to come on this platform and choosing us to be the first platform where you have come and spoken about the book. And this is an online soft launch. Thank you so much. Honored again. And on behalf of the Verandah Club, I thank you once again and congratulate you. Dharmo Rakshati Rakshitaha.
Dharmo
Dharmo
Rakshati
Rakshati
Rakshitaha.
Rakshitah.
Rakshita.